Welcome everyone as we learn this special segment known as for the Shabbos table for Parshas Pkudei. And it is a rare shir that I give on Pkudei because usually it's either during Purim or during the Haggadah. As a matter of fact, when we looked at TorahAnytime.com, over 7,500 shirim that I have in Torah Anytime. Till this year, there was no shir on Pkudei. There was on V'Yakov Pkudei, but there was no shir on Pkudei. So we're breaking new ground over here with the help of Hashem. This shir is made possible by a grant from the Reuben family with the tefillah that they should be zeicha to a healthy ben zacher, and of course hatzlach and ruchnius and gashmius. It says Kesef Pkudei Ha'eda, the money, the amount that came from the congregation for the Mishkan. So we're talking about the Nedavos of Klal Yisrael. I want to share with you a story that is going to be a springboard for what is the caliber of the leaders of Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Eliezer Vax was the Rav of Kalish. He was the Gabbai. He was in charge of the Kuppah of Rabbi Balanes for Aniyei Eretz Yisrael. He received an urgent letter from Eretz Yisrael that Yerushalayim was having a famine and people mamish didn't have food. And it was a really emergency situation. So Reb Chaim Eliezer Vax summoned his head fundraiser, Rav Paltiel, and told him, he needs to go into, red alert. He needs to really go into full action to help Eretz Yisrael. So Rav Paltiel traveled to a village where he knew there were wealthy people, and he visited a very, very philanthropic person who he knew would be, merciful and compassionate about the cause. But he was stunned what this individual told him. He said to him, how much do you think is needed to solve the entire problem, to solve the entire issue? So he said, well, to solve the entire issue probably would be 10,000 ruble, to hire a boat, and to bring all the necessary food to the people in Yerushalayim. So this man told him, I'm willing to give you the full amount on one condition, that the Rav of Kalish sells me for it his entire chelik in Olam Haba. So Rav Paltiel was stunned. He didn't know what to say. He went back to the Rav of Kalish, and the Rav of Kalish immediately put on his frock, took his cane, went to the Bezdin, and formally wrote a shtar selling this person his entire chelik in Olam Haba. Now, of course, one has to know how much Olam Haba he would get for doing this. But it's important to see from over here what Gedolei Yisrael are willing to do for Klal Yisrael. Well, we know Moshe Rabbeinu, Im Ayin, if you don't forgive them, erase me. Make me non-existent. Just wipe me out like I never was there. So, in this vein, I want to share with you something that the Aleinu L'Shabeach brings down in this week's Parsha. Rav Zilberstein was approached by a man who he saw on his face that this man was really troubled by something. He needed he needed to pour out his heart. The man told Reb Zilberstein that he came from a small little hamlet in Poland. And in that hamlet, there was a man in the shul who the whole day, wore talis and tefillin, and would sit and would daven and would learn with tremendous concentration. And also he had sterling midos, and he was attentive to anybody that came to ask him something. When the fires of the Nazis started, and it became apparent that everybody's days were numbered, the Hamlet had the wherewithal to spirit this man to safety, to get him out, one person with a lot of money to rescue him. But he wasn't asking for it, but there was a disagreement amongst the Tuvei, amongst the leaders of the city, whether they should do it. On the one hand, he's a great man, and get him to safety, like they did to many Rebbes, to many Gedolim. On the other hand, the city realized that this man being in their Dalaramas, this man being in their close quarters, could be a protection for all of them, and could stave off maybe the most terrible things. The man that was pouring his heart out to Reb Zilberstein said in a very tormented way, I was from the school of those that argued that we should keep him in the city, that he's for us a protection. You know, when it says a tzaddik leaves the city, pana hoida, pana ziva, pana hadara, its glow, its protection leaves. And Laida, unfortunately, when the Nazis came, this gadol in our midst was swept away and died al Kiddush Hashem. And he says, it haunts me till this day, decades later, that I had a hand in deciding that his fate should be to die. He could have been spirited away and lived for who knows how much longer. So Reb Zilberstein told him that the Chassam Sofer in 3 different places discusses this question of whether it's correct for a gadol to move away and go to safety, or to stay and go down with the ship. We know that Rav Chanan Vassman not only didn't escape, but he went from the safety of America back into the inferno to die with his yeshiva in Baranovich in the gas chambers. And therefore, Rav Zilberstein said that there's arguments from both sides. But I besides the fact that we see, again, the caliber of our leaders, we're living in a world where we're so cynical. We see the falseness of the leaders, of Trump, and all the Trump might be better, but we're not, he might be better for Israel, he might be better for America, but a sterling personality he's not. And all of the hypocrisy and the lies that we see in the leaders of the secular world, when we compare it to our Gedolei Yisrael that were ready to give up their life and even give up their afterlife, their Olam Haba. But I want to point out something else over here, which is a painful thing. And that is that you see that people, for their own selfish reasons, will do things even if it's not for the benefit of their leaders. I mean, imagine deciding not to send a person away to safety. And in my Rabbanis, I've witnessed this. I remember there was a time I had a very small shul, and there were people in the shul that liked the close-knit yeshiva shechevra, and they there were those that wanted to vote that it should be a closed minyan. And I remember at the time my father, Alav Shalom, went ballistic. And he said to me, they want to make it a closed minyan? As your family grows, how are they going to pay you? They're school teachers. If your family grows and they have a closed minyan, how are they going to pay you more money? But that wasn't on their radar. And in a lot of shuls, it's not on the radar to figure out how their Rav should be able to marry off their children. Well, the Rav should do something else. They want a part-time Rav doing the full-time salary. I mean, you have to prepare this year and that year. Why doesn't he give this year? And why didn't he visit this person? And why didn't he go to this grandchild's bris? They want a part-time Rav doing a super full-time job, but they don't want to worry about making sure the Rav has a competitive pension and the Rav is taken care of when he retires, and the Rav is going to be able to marry off his children. So people today should realize that there's such a challenge, and they should have a kos hatov to the people that are like fathers, people that teach people Torah. They bring them in Olam Haba. And when they get to Olam Haba, they'll be asked, okay, you got all this Olam Haba for this person. Were you there for him? Ukvoid Hashem, Malei es Mishkan. The inyan of Kavod Hashem, of Kiddush Hashem, and Chilul Hashem. A Rosh Yeshiva in Bnei Brak made an observation. He said he once saw that somebody was going to the bus stop, and as he got to the bus stop, the bus pulled away. The next bus would be first in 20 minutes. That would really mess up his wife is waiting for supper, and then he has a Seder after supper. So he started running after the bus, and he caught the bus at a red light, and he banged on the door, and the bus driver took mercy on him, opened up the door, and let him in. He paid the amount, and then he went to sit down. And this Rosh Yeshiva saw on the bus driver's face a flicker of anger. And the Rosh Yeshiva said it came because this person didn't stop to say one word, Toda, thank you. He said probably even Mechukei Medina, even from the laws of the municipality, he's not supposed to stop in between stops. People are not expecting a stop, and whatever it is, one person will be upset because made a stop for him and then make a stop for her. But he did him a favor, and he didn't say thank you. When you don't say thank you, you're making a chilul Hashem. On the other hand, a good thank you is so appreciated. You know, I remember all our girls had this chiyah of going, after we put them in Staten Island in the RJJ Yeshiva for girls, which was an excellent school, till the 6th grade. 6th grade already, when the more modern girls started to show already interest in things that we don't want our girls to be interested in, we slowly, silently moved them out to Yeshiva of Brooklyn. And there I got to know the great Talmid Chacham, Marbitz Torah, father of girls and boys, Ramanis Mendel. Ramanis Mendel, Zeich Tzadik L'Bracha, Zchus Yagan Aleinu, used to say, and I heard him say this, that dank is b'gematria Olam Haba. It's exactly dank. Yiddish word thank you. Dank is 154. Is b'gematria Olam Haba, which is 154. It says a good thank you could get a person Olam Haba. And it's interesting. There's certain words that are so valuable. We talked about it recently, Amen. The three-letter word, Amen, is Paiskan Lo Shari Gan Eden. It's Marichan Lo Yama Vishnaisav. It opens up all the gates of Gan Eden. It's a master key. It gives one long life. Right? One word, Amen, has such power. The same thing, Taida. Thank you. You know, it's who we are. We are Yehudim. The reason why we're called Yehudim is because we're people that give thanks. We make 100 brachos a day. The very first words when we open up our eyes is supposed to be Moidani lefanecha melechai v'kayim, saying thank you to Hashem. And as the Chavis Abba says, Dvam sheroitza lahasmir, what things do you want to continue? You want to keep on waking up? V'amidenu l'chayim? Al tiftach ba. Don't take them for granted. Say thank you. That's Yehudim. But especially we say thank you for the extras. Remember when Leah had Yehuda. Yehuda was her fourth child. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Now since there were 4 wives and everybody knew that there were going to be 12 Shvatim, they knew it in the Nevuah. Every wife was supposed to have 3. When she had her 4th child, she knew she got extra. When a person has extra, hapam ode es Hashem. We say this in the Halalukas. Ahalala nafshi b'chayoy. My soul praises you for my life. Azamra lelikai, but I especially sing to my God be'odi. Now, Ba'odi, literally everybody translates it to mean Ba'odi, while my spirit is in me, while I have spirit. But it also could be translated, Azamar Lelekai, I especially sing to my God, Ba'odi, for my extra. Oid is extra, what I have extra. And Taisa says that this is pshat in the Bari Nefashos that we make, the bracha achroina that we make for, meat and milk and candy, right? And nuts and fruit and vegetables. Borei refashos rabbis, you created many creatures. V'chesroinam, and what they are lacking, their necessities, their deficiencies. And then we say, Al kol ma'aseh barasa. For all that you created, the extras, the luxus, the luxuries, the delicacies, we especially thank you. So we have to remember that especially when we have extra, you have 2 cars. That's a real extra. A family that has 1 car, they have to constantly juggle between the husband and the wife, the car, and then there's disagreements, but I need the car, but you aren't back in time. Family has 2 cars, it's an extra. And then you have a car that the seat moves electrically, that you could fix it exactly how you want it. You have a car that you could rely on that doesn't break down because it's spanking new. These are all extras. A person that doesn't have to think twice before Pesach to get more cleaning help. They have extras. For extras, we have to say thank you. It's an extra that a person doesn't have to worry from month to month how they're going to pay their bills. They don't have to worry. They have enough in the bank. And you know what? If a check is late in payment that people owe them, it's okay. They have a cushion. You know what an extra it is to live that way? We have to thank Hashem that He's Mavarech Hashanim. A person is getting older and he's not forgetful. He remembers everything. She remembers everything. Brachat Hashem Chaynei Nadas. It's a very big thing. Now, not just the word thank you. It's a big word, thank you. It's a big word, taida. It dawned on me that taida is the same letters as Nidas devosa. Devosa is an impurity, is a sickness. Dalid vav safhei. Dalid vav safhei is the same letters as taida. We could turn around a sickness into thanks by saying thanks. But there's another word that really can make a difference. A Rav revealed that he received a letter from a Baal Tshuva. And the Baal Tshuva wanted to tell him what set him on the path of Tshuva. What set him on the path of return? He says he lived in a basically Chiloni apartment building, a non-religious apartment building in one of the suburbs in Eretz Yisrael. But there was one Haredi Jew. Every time he met him, he was leaving to work when this Haredi Jew was coming back from Shachris. He always met him with a warm Boker Tov. Everybody else in the building passed him without saying a word. This Jew always met him with a smile and a Boker Tov. And listen to what he asked himself. He was a smart man. He says, what's the difference? It must be that this Jew is so suffused with an inner happiness and contentment that he could easily share it with others. Isn't that an interesting idea? And he couldn't help but be confronted by this until he looked into Yiddishkeit and became frum. Do you know the schus that this man got for giving this Boker Tov? You know, to greet people warmly. You know, in the biography of Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, it says that after Rabbi Yaakov passed away, there was a nun in Monsey that asked, "Where's that old man?" They told her he passed away. She says, "You know, he always greeted me with such a warm smile." You know Rabbi Yochanan, how he greeted everyone, he was first to greet even a goy bishuk. That's the way of Yiddishkeit. But it's because we have a repository of simcha in us, because we're a people that Baruch Hashem, Torah Hashem, Temima, Meshivas Nafesh, Pkudei Hashem, Yesharim, Mesamchei Leiv. We have an inner happiness that we could share and give to others, but it makes a tremendous impact when we do this with others. You know, this is already other bays. We said, Mishnichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha, and one of the ways of Mishnichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha is to give tzedakah. Because Ein Simcha Mufoara, there's no greater joy, K'mesameach Aniyim U'Yisamim, like being mesameach people that are in need. As we get ready for Purim, people are buying for Shalach Monis and themes and costumes and Sudas Purim. Maybe people are buying new Megillah holders or Megillas. Let's remember, of paramount importance is make sure to give people Matan Sev Yainim. Your Rav would probably be collecting it, or if not your Rav, there's somebody in the area that's collecting that knows families that are maxed out on their credit cards, that our houses are in foreclosure. There are a lot of people in need now. This is a time to remember this great mitzvah. It's one of the great mitzvahs of Purim. I want to thank again the Rubin family for making this year possible. Next week, Rabbi Isaac, towards the middle of the week, we'll be starting the Perek Elu Metzias and the Daf HaYomi. At 7:45, you could join me on my Zoom Daf HaYomi by going to zoomdaf.com. Go on Zoom and just put in zoomdaf.com, and presto, you'll be with my share, 7:45. Thank you very much for joining us. If you want to sponsor the Purim share, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com, and have a wonderful Shabbos.